A very warm welcome to today's program and to this channel. Today we are having a very wonderful discussion, especially on the children in relation to job market. This is a Tuesday class job market, and we are going to handle the basic things that we really avoid, and this is the raising of the children, because the market of today is looking for the performance, not the actors. The market of today is looking for the staff that are wholeheartedly working to perform, not to produce. We are looking for the world whereby we are going to have more performance than producers. We don't need a producer. A producer is a specific person who is result oriented, but a performer is a wholehearted staff, is a composed, is a full-blown staff that is all-rounded in every services that is needed. Now, you get that an example of a performer staff is somebody who is well in positive attitude. When you go to the energy, when you go to the vision, when you go to the social skills, when you go to the emotional feelings, when you go to the adversity quotient, intelligence, this is a person who is wholeheartedly. That's what we call a performer. Now, a performer is only developed or can be created through development, not training. Are you getting that? Is through development. Development is a whole life kind of training that you go from one thing to another. It's not specific. It develops your attitude, it trains your skills, it trains your ability to be result oriented, it trains your power to socialize with people, team working, solitudeness, and all that. But training is a specific, meant for specific result. So we should be developing personally or developing our staffs rather than training them. Now, the idea of this, to get such a thing, we have to start development from the moment go. Meaning that if we want a whole developed person, a whole performer, we have to start from the basics, which is the family, which is the child. And now that one brings us to the main point of today, which is CBC. CBC, my country, we are adopting that. We are now changing from a normal system of education, which used to be 844 kind of system. 844, 8 years in primary school, 4 years in high school, then 4 years in university, a total of over 16 years in education system. But again, the thing is, by the end of the day, the result is not that pleasing, because these people, we release them to the job market, they are not producing, they are not performers. They only target the result, the producers, meaning that emotionally they are not well up to standard, attitude-wise they are not well up to standard, team working is not up to standard, problem-solving skills is up to low, meaning that their main target is only the result. This one goes back to the kind of training system that they got. Because of that, most of educationists, child carers, and even the employers, they have come on board and came up with a better education system that will be releasing the performance rather than their producers. Are you getting that? Now, today we are going to talk about how to train, how to develop children from the word go in terms of CBC. Some people call it CCL, CCE, child-centered education, child-centered learning, or child-based curriculum, whichever the name you will call it. The main thing here, we want a training, we want a development that is child-centered. What do we mean by child-centered? Before we go there, let me remind you, please, if you are watching me for the first time, please, this is a program that we roll out every Tuesday, and I explained from the first episode why it is only on Tuesday. So every Tuesday you expect a clip from me or a video from me, and to get all notification all the time, make sure if you're a new person, please subscribe to my channel, press that notification bell and personalize it. This one means that all the time you will be getting notification wherever or whenever I upload a video. Then apart from that, there are a lot of advantages. If you love the video and the video is more educative, please don't be so selfish never to share. Make sure you share and let the knowledge propel and ripple to many people. We are looking for a target whereby we can win one soul. When you win one person, when you learn one person or you educate one person, the ripple effect of course will be seen. The generation we are heading to, we are raising a generation that is more dependent rather than independent. We are looking to change this into independentness rather than dependent generation. Through this, we have to work with children first, then upbring a new generation with a different, diversified vision. And that's why we come up with the CBC program. Now, what is a CBC program? Vaguely, I will say that this is not a cultural introduction to the child. You know, the cultural activities you introduce into the child. You know, long time ago, children or people used to learn from what we call seeing and doing. There was no normal classrooms where people could go and sit down. No, it was all about men will follow, or the boys will follow the fathers or uncles to the maybe tethering field or grazing fields. Then they are taught on how to hunt, how to graze the animals, how to milk the cows and all that. They see, then they do practically, and it was really working well. For the ladies or the girls, they will be taken by their aunties, their mothers or their grandmothers to the kitchen. They are taught family issues, what a woman is supposed to be done to do, responsibility like cooking food, different supporting the men and all that in everything they can do. And you see, they were coming out as a well-developed individual where they could perform in their respective areas when they transit into adulthood. So the same thing has been brought back here, what we call it the childhood or the child education. You know, this system of education, how can we educate a child in such a way that by the end of the day we inculcate or we calculate the both formal education, that is the cultural education, with the modern education, so that this individual can fit well into the job market. That is where the idea of CBC came from. Now, why called child-centered learning or child-centered education? It's because we want to mingle the modern learning system, whether it is in class, whether it is in computers, whether it is in aeroplane, whichever, modern versus the culture, and then it must be done in relation to the interest of the child. Meaning that the researchers found that if the child is not interested in learning, you as a teacher or educator, you will be doing zero work, because by the end of the day, result will not be there. Then this one brings us to the point whereby many children, or maybe in a family, we can have one mother giving birth to 6 children. These are children from the same biological mother and the same biological father, sired through the same way, and maybe brought up in the womb through the same way. They might come from the same way, the same womb, but the real fact is that they behave differently. Now, if you take all of them, cocoon them in the same classroom, being taught by the same teacher with the same ideology, by the end of the day, maybe you will end up only helping one. Because the attitude of one person or one child or one learner is not the same as the other. So meaning that each and every person has a different kind of what? Learning activity or learning experiences. So if we bring all learning variety system, educational program, learning experiences, instructional approaches, and academic support, either from the parents or from the ministry or from the government political will of supporting this, we bring them together, then we calculate them together with the interest, aspiration, the visions, the wants, the programs of the child mind. We put them together, then that's what we call the CBC. So it means that it is a training, it's a learning program that is based in the interest, you know, in the vision, in the aspiration of the child, not the parent, not the country, not you as a teacher, but the child. So CBC is a program that brings out the interest of a child. brings out the like, the wants, the need, the aspiration, That's why you ask a child, what do you want to be? One will tell you, I want to be a doctor. Another one will tell you, I want to be a teacher. Another one will tell you, I want to be a salesperson or maybe a business person. One will tell you, I just want to be a mechanic. Another one. Now, if you have a class of different aspirations and then you are teaching them through the same program with the same energy, with the same target, you are not doing justice to them. That is where the child program came from. And remember, what I want to insist is that it is not inculcating the culture to the child. It's not all about culture. In my country, we have a lot of tribes with different cultures and belief. When we train these children, it's not about teaching them what the culture wants. No, it is teaching them what the world needs, what the world used to want, and then in relation to what you want as a person as per now. So we want to mix the digital life plus analog life, bring them together, but in interest of the child. Meaning that now, these things or CBC is based under some principle. Principle number 1, under the CBC, we have the play and the curiosity of the child. This learning activity must be entertaining, must be making this child lively. A child goes well with what makes him lively or makes her laugh all the time. They learn from that. Another principle is self-discovery. We are trying to uproot or to bring out or unleash all the total potential in individual child. Not all of them are the same. So meaning that these teaching programs, they should be based in each and every individual. But because of population, maybe we cocoon them in the same class, but different style of training and different style of breakups or groupings that will bring different diversities. So it is based in different discoveries. Then we were looking at the whole child, meaning that a child might be good in attitude, but poor vision. A child might be in this. So when we are developing this child under this learning, we are trying to bring out the whole of this child. We are not training the child. We are developing the child. That is a principle of the CBC. So the teachers who are handling these children, don't teach these children. Develop them. Develop them starts from the attitude of the child. Development starts of the social relationship of the child. Development is all about the performance, practically. Performance is not about the grading system. It's about the outcome, the practical kind of. If this child says, I want to be a doctor, suppose you given doctor's equipment to act on them. Are you able to perform well? We are trying to bring wholeheartedly. The way this child thinks, from the hygiene, from the health, from the speech, from the discipline, from the honesty, from the genuineness. This is the wholehearted person. But the former kind of system was all about training. We want you to pass exam in maths. We don't care which subject, which topic in maths. It's all about maths. 1 + 1 is 2, full stop. We don't want to know why it's not 3 or why it's not 1. That is training. But CBC is looking for developing a child. Another principle under this is about we talk about choice and consequences. We are developing a child that will know that if I make this choice, the consequence is this. Every choice has a consequence. You have the freedom, you have the powers to make choice of life. So when you come to school for the CBC, when you go to school, when you do this assignment, what is your choice? If you don't do it, this and this is the result. So we are bringing a whole person that will be having a problem solving skills, will be able to make different choices, will be able to take a risk, but knowing that the end result, there must be a consequence. Then another principle under CBC should be empathy, caring, and mutual trust. There's something I overlooked at the beginning. Remember that CBC mainly is rooted under the 4 quotients. The latter education, we call it the Western education or the normal class attendance education training, is only based mostly on 1. That is intelligence quotient, whereby by the end of the day, you are going to assess the learners through the grading system. In CBC, grading system should not appear anywhere, because when you bring the grading system, you are not being fair to others. Remember, every child has different interests and every child has different ability. Now, if you grade them that this one got an A, this one got a 50, what grading system are you using to make sure that I, as Mark, I am related to this person, then we are being graded together. Now, when the other one is celebrating that I got an A, this one got an E, maybe in another subject I'm better than him. You never know. So because of that, in grading system or assessment, which is another principle in this, is not all about grading, but it's all about the practical outcome individually. Remember that. So CBC, it's all about the 4 quotients. Number 1, the intelligence quotient through the education versus training. Number 2 is about the emotional quotient. When you talk about empathy, when you talk about social effect, when you talk about teamwork, when you talk about grouping, that's emotional effect. We are developing a child that will be able to empathize, to sympathize with a person, have emotional effect, and even wonder, if my background was like this, what am I supposed to do to make sure that I change the life of people, I change the life of other suffering orphans, I change the life of my country without corruption, without nepotism, without murdering people illegally, without, forgeries and all that. A person who does such kind of things, a corrupt person, a murderer, a con person, this is a person who lacks what is called emotional quotient. Then another part of CBC is all about adversity quotient. Adversity is we are trying to develop a whole child that will be able to face a problem and know how to come out of it. Bible has a backup where the Bible is telling us that God is always with us. God will never allow a challenge that we cannot overcome to come to us. But we have the challenges. Why then God allowed the challenges to come to us? Because God knows that we have the powers to overcome them. Now, the question is, Bible is not putting down these powers that we have, that we are supposed to overcome them. Bible is all about prayer, 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 prayer. But now in CBC, we want to train this child practically in such a way that suppose you are doing a business and you get a loss, how are you supposed to come out of it? So CBC is all about the child interest, the child attitude on how to be adversely quotient. You get that? Then lastly is all about social quotient. Social quotient, now we'll be doing the group works in class. We train the child on the powers of group work and then powers of solidarity, and then we want to tell them, whenever you work as a group, what are the advantages of group work, social work, so that when you grow up, you become a politician, you are a social worker. How are you going to initiate the program? How are you going to engineer and the pioneer and execute these programs that we are electing you to do that? How are you going to represent us? That one will only come if emotional quotient and social quotient is really put in place and this child is developing ideologically and in a whole manner. So those 4 quotients are what CBC is also targeting apart from the principle. Principle number 5, let's go to principle, was about empathy, caring, and then mutual. Then number 6, taking reasonable risk. If a child is developed in adversity, he will be able to know that taking risk is one way of making a step. And it is this step that God is telling us that will support it. So if you train a child just in terms of producer, by the end of the day, they will not know this result we are targeting. What are the processes? So it is through these processes that risk is also involved. So tell them, whenever you take a risk, there is also a consequence. But it's better have a risk than just sitting there and waiting for the result. Then another principle, time for solitude, reflection, sense of wonder, reflection of the background. This is what we call emotional quotient. If they are not taught about that, it will bring a mess. Then all about inclusion and diversity. When you talk to them about social effect, when they come together in these CBC classes, when they are working together, they are doing a project together, they are going to do practical together, it's bringing out that inclusion, collaborative nature, and all that, which is another principle, that is the collaborative nature. Principle number 10, natural world. CBC, please teach us, with the due support from the school directors, school administrators, and mostly the government, CBC should be full of practicals. It is not about notes. It's not about theories. This is full of practicals, and you should do it as much as possible, because remember, we are trying to unleash the total potential from each and every child, not as a group, not as a school, but as a child. So the more different practicals you do, the more unleashing we are doing to each and every child. So natural environment as a principle in CBC means that the children are taken out of these normal classes to the external environment to know how we are related to this environment, the advantages and disadvantages, the practicals. Let them go to these rivers, let them go to the forest, walk about the forest and tell them the advantages of trees, how trees look like, different types of trees, uses of trees, how trees are grown, taken care of, and all that. Talk about the oxygen outside. Go to the laboratories, do the practicals. If it's about medicine, sick people, take these children to hospital if possible. Wherever how young they are, a child between 5 to 10 to 15 years, up to 17 years, we're talking about the children here up to 18 years, they are able to go to learn. Let them talk to those sick, let them talk to doctors, let them ask questions. Don't wait until universities before you start taking these children for trip. CBC is all about natural environment. Then lastly, assessment. Please, teachers, up to now, don't grade children. It is demoralizing, it is killing emotions, it is making children look down upon each other. Don't grade the children. When you grade them, you are killing them. You know, out of all these things, just to summarize, I saw a clip, I'm sorry to say, but in my country, where the teachers were practicing CBC class. Now, they took these children to I think it was about learning the market, which is a very good idea. Children brought items from home, some brought the bananas, some brought the cereal, some brought the clothes, some brought, because they are going to demonstrate goods and services that are found in the market. Now, it was a good process, and then they went to open field. Yes, some had dust coats, some just have vests, some whole, literally how the African market looks like, open air market, that is. But now, my question comes in, whenever you are doing this kind of demonstration, first of all, as a teacher, base your demonstration and practical on the principles that I have just highlighted there. These principles in relation to the quotients, the 4 quotients, the IQ, the EQ, the SQ, and the AQ. Intelligence, social, ethics, and then adversity quotient, whenever you are doing these principles. Because not everything that happens, especially in modern world, is a cultural doctrine that we are trying to introduce into this child. Some of them are madness. I'm sorry to say that. Some of these things that happen are madness. Now, in this scenario, this teacher was busy. Okay, some students were acting like customers, some were the sellers, some were just window shoppers and all that, which is a good view. Now, my question, my point of concern came in where the sellers, the shop owners, they were busy shouting, some with the bandanas on their head, some with the cape, some with the dust coat that are dirty, some even inside the laces, we call them the Africans, the rappers and all that. But now, the kind of marketing style that they was doing, I can give that teacher a 0 work, because what you are introducing to these children was madness. It was madness. It was total madness. Because currently, if you go to modern air market in Africa, I'm sorry, specifically in my country, Kenya, this market, these bus stations, these marketing strategies are just foolishness, madness that should be done away with. So when we're handling these children, we want to tell them that not everything that happens is a cultural advantage. Some of them are madness that we are working towards eradicating, So when this teacher was allowing these sellers, in quotes, to shout, come buy my goods, you come here, then they are pulling the customer, they are pushing the customer and all that. Teacher, sorry, you have to know the current customer is a digital customer, is a principled customer, is a clean, hygienic customer, is a customer with his or her own standard, a customer that in most cases they are into the digital world where they only make orders through online and they want their deliveries to be done. Getting a customer that will spend time and come to the air market is not easy, though we have some. But if some come, you have to strategize your marketing styles, because if you don't do that, either you'll be taken action, legal action will take place. So by the time you are allowing these children to shout, you are allowing these children to push the customer, pull the customer, use the vulgar language toward the customer, that is a poor marketing strategy. It is a madness that we are supposed to remove from the children. But you are doing it a practical, introducing madness. You go to bus station in Africa, especially Kenya, the way those conductors are pulling you, come this side, one is running away with your luggages, another one pulls your child, another one your shoes, your trouser is torn, your shirt is torn, your tie is sideways. You cannot go there. We call them the fake kind of marketing. They are marketing. They are trying to win a customer to board their bus, also to get some little money. Is that a way of marketing nowadays? No, that is a madness that should not be introduced. So the best thing this church should have done to these children, tell them we are trying to introduce the traditional kind of marketing, which is open air market. Tick. But now in the marketing, we want to win a digital customer. How do we do it? Tell them simple. Use the responsible, disciplined language. Apart from that, we have nowadays the gadget. The simple thing this teacher could have done, use your phone, borrow another teacher's phone. Tell these children, nowadays we do marketing also online. Take the photo of your product, post maybe in your status, tag there the price, share with the people. That's a marketing. When a customer comes, it's not all about pushing. It's not all a matter of life and death. Talk responsibly. Start by greeting. Know the way about somebody. What are the needs? Then from there, start marketing your goods in a good way. You are beating the drum for your goods in a good, principled way. It's not all about pushing right, left, and center. That was a poor strategy. And that's why one day I posted, CBC is the best way to go. But are we well trained to do it? To put it into our children? Is a good strategy, is a good program, is a good result from different researchers, but who are these people executing the program? That's the question we have to ask. CBC, generally it was meant, or from the result. For example, I have here, the principles were drawn from the initial literature review that was done in 2018 by somebody called Bogatic et al., meaning with others, in 2018. For the Erasmus project was called Interpreting Child-Centeredness to Support Quality and Diversity in Early Child Education. We are talking about the early child, because by the time you reach university, now you are mature, we cannot do anything, but we can do a lot at the early child education system. So that was a project that was done, and those principles were tagged on that. So you must make sure that every CBC introduction that you do, please, it is related to those principles, it is child-centered, and it is not indoctrinating the cultural beliefs and cultural activities into the child. No, there are some that are not cultural activities. They are madness that we are working away with. It is cementing, or maybe putting together the modern system of the world and the traditional activities of the world, so that we put them together to produce a child in a wholeheartedness, so that this child become a performer in the market. That's what we are talking about. So CBC, please teachers, please the government, I pray for the political support, the political will to support this system, because teachers also, for this practical to take place, for this system to take place, the government promised a lot of digital transformation, which is not taking place. Some of schools are in very diverse area, not diverse really, but in very remote areas that even electrification is a problem. Then the government is just busy shouting. So there is no also the government willpower to support this. Political is not, it's all about the interest, the post, but in real sense, we are not supporting the CBC, especially in my country. This is something that is a good idea, is a good ideology. We have done it, and we have searched a lot from benchmarking from different countries. Every country is doing this. First-class countries have done this, and they have been doing this, and it's all about practical. What's wrong with our country? We can also do it. But first of all, we start by training the teachers, then teachers ripple this to children, because children believe in teachers. Teachers, if they are empty-handed, they cannot fill these pots. Empty pot cannot fill another empty pot. So we have to diverse these schools. We have to support the teachers in terms of equipment, in terms of knowledge, in terms of practicals, in terms of places to visit, transport, nature, and all that for CBC to succeed. Otherwise, with this one, it's all just chaotic. There's nothing we are doing. We are just introducing madness. When I saw that happening, that clip, for example, teaching children in modern world to start shouting, these shouts were made long time ago. It was for the mad people. You go to the market, people are shouting. That is madness. Nowadays, we do marketing online. We do marketing in a respective way. People are educated, people are learned, people are principled. That we should introduce that discipline to the child, not the madness that is going around. So CBC is a good thing, but how to put it, it's not releasing the job market stuffs that we are looking for. With that one, see you next time. If you have not subscribed, please make sure you subscribe to my channel, share this to people, and please comment as much as possible. See you next time. Take care and make sure you remain the best caregiver.